In prior videos, we have discussed the three primary requirements of a Section 351 exchange: a transfer of property, an exchange for stock, and control, with control generally meaning 80%. In Example 3 of Regulation 351-1A2, E owned property worth $18,000 and G owned 100% of a corporation, Corp F, that was worth $5,000. E contributed the $18,000 of property to Corp F in exchange for stock in Corp F. E also agreed to perform services for Corp F in exchange for stock in Corp F, with the services valued at $2,000. After the exchange, Corp F was worth $25,000 and E owned 80% of the shares. This example shows that it is not necessary for all of the shares to be issued in exchange for property in order to qualify under Section 351. Here, 90% of the shares were issued for property and 10% of the shares were issued for services. But because E owned at least 80% of Corp F immediately after the exchange, the transaction qualified under Section 351, and E was not required to recognize gain on the property transferred. Non-recognition under Section 351 only applies to property transferred and not to services performed. Thus, E must recognize income of $2,000 for receiving shares of Corp F in exchange for the performance of services.